Okay, lesson 7. We are going to download first the two files, the 7-start and the circuit board. And you're going to open the text document, the Google Doc for lesson 7 text. Okay, let's open from computer. We're going to open the 7-start. First thing we do, let's rename it. 07 and save. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. Cool, we are ready to rock. Now notice you've got two layers. You've got your model and you've got your background. Basically the same as the one you had from 6, but we don't want to use the one from 6. We want to use the one from 7 that's provided because there are different things in it. So if you're starting using the one that you did, close it, go back and restart, and download the one from lesson 7. They're different, okay? All right, now that everybody's on 7-start and you've renamed it, we're going to go to the text tool. Actually, before we do the text, let's see, get my first page here, got my notes. Let's go up to View, and you're going to click on Rulers. So Rulers is here. Notice that you got a ruler along the left side and a ruler along the top. Yours is probably looking like this because it comes up set to pixels at first. If you right click inside the layer or inside the ruler and set it to inches, it'll be what we want. Notice it's 8.5 wide by about 10.5 long or tall. All right, first thing we're going to do is click inside the left ruler and hold down when you click, and you're going to drag. You're going to bring it over to the center of this, which is about 4.25. Now you'll notice when you get close, it's going to use the magnet to draw it right to the center. Again, that is one of the super cool things about Photopea that is not as cool in Photoshop. You have to do a little more work to find center in Photoshop, where this one kind of intuitively knows that you want a center. Now, if you need to pull it out, you can and move it to the sides. But most of the time when we're using rulers, we want to use like increments like center. So anyway, we've got our ruler and our guide. We're going to go to the text tool, and we're going to go up, make sure the text is set to Metropolis, the font. And we're going to make it bold. Set the size to 350. We want the text justification set to center. Okay, and then there's a couple of things I want to do before we even do this. I want to go and click in the character window, and we're going to set the tracking to 100%. And we want it set to all caps, the 2 P's, and bold is good. And then we'll make our text box. Try and get it close to center. Okay, double check that all of our settings are still there. Okay, it all looks good. Click inside the text box, and we're going to type digital. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, if I want to make the text box fit a little better, I can bring that up. Okay, I like all this. Once I get it how I want it, I'm going to click the check mark or hit enter. But I think check mark is better, because if you hit enter, it might actually continue typing. Okay, notice that we were on the background layer. If you weren't on the background layer, you don't want it above the model. You want it to be just between the two. So if it put it somewhere else, make sure it's here in between the two layers. Super important. Okay, you're going to click on digital and the text layer. And then the next step is we're going to go up to File, and we're going to open and place the circuit board file. So find it, open that up. Okay, notice that it's above digital, but it's under the model. Okay, that's where we want it. Don't hit enter or anything yet. We're going to be dragging this up to the top. Make sure it's centered. Let the little magnets pull it where it should be. When you get it where you want it, then you can click the check mark and lock it down. All right, looks pretty cool, but we've covered up our text. So I'm going to right click on the circuit board layer and I'm going to make it a clipping mask. Boom, check that out. How cool is that? Now I don't like that this little white area is here, so I'm going to go to the move tool and I'm going to drag this up so I can get rid of that little white bit of text. I kind of like it with the little nodes across the top. That's pretty cool. You can adjust it however you want it, but I kind of like the look of that. Might move it up just a little bit to get rid of this one on the bottom, but that's pretty cool. Maybe not. Let me step back one. Move it down just a little bit. Well, that's even better. We'll make sure I don't lose, end up with black on either side. So that looks pretty good. All right. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm on my circuit board layer, go up to layer and choose layer style. And I'm going to add an inner shadow. Okay. These settings, my mode should be multiply, opacity set to 48. Leave this angle stuff where it is at 120 and to the left. Distance at 18. The spread at 0 and the size at 16. Noise should be at 0. And hit OK. Okay, it didn't do anything. Now here's why. We're on the circuit board layer. Okay, if you click this little arrow on the right, where it says effects, it shows us the effects that are on there. We just put our effects on the clipping mask. We want to actually put it on the thing that we're masking. So I'm going to click on effects and drag it onto the digital layer. And notice it added the effect inside the text on the digital layer. So I wanted to do it wrong so I could show you how to move that stuff from layer to layer. Now we duplicated it on the last part of this, but we didn't really just grab it and move it to another layer. If we wanted to, we could grab it, move it to the background layer, but we're not doing that. So this is kind of a helpful thing. All right, click on the background layer and choose the text tool. Okay. Now, one of the things that we want this file for instead of the one from 6 is that for some reason this one has a path set up on the Paths tab. If you look over in the Layers palette, you've got the Paths tab and you've got the speech path. Click back on the layers and we're going to add a text layer. Now when I clicked on Paths, notice this thing popped up coming out of the guy's mouth. That's a path that we created. Okay, so whoever made this file created that path. Now we're not going to go into creating paths on this lesson, but we're going to show you how to work with them. So you already have one there. We're going to show you how to work with it. We do need to make some changes though. We can't use this same size because it's too big. So we're going to change to the bold to regular. The size is too big. Let's take it down to 40. We want to change the text color to white. So hit OK, so that changes. And it's really important that you left justify, not center, but left. Now our tracking is super huge. That's not going to work. So we need to come over to the character palette and put in -10 because we want it to be closer together. Okay. Now once we have all that stuff, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Go to my text layer, or my text tool, and I'm going to click at the end of this line. Notice it put it in there on the line. Now double check all of our settings are still there because we don't want to have to go back and fix them later. That all looks good. Because we have it set to all caps, we should just be able to start typing. So we're going to put what's new with games ? Okay, I like that. But I want to do something a little special. I want to make games pop. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to change that back to bold. Okay, and then click on my move tool so I can see. Okay, that looks good. Okay, back to the text tool. Now this part is super important. I'm going to right click. Actually, before I do that, go to paths and let's click on the bottom one. We don't want speech path selected. I did this 3 times now because I forgot to click off the speech path. So just what's new text path. Go to layers and right click on the text path that we have, and we're going to duplicate that layer. Okay, I'm going to double check. Okay, we're good there. Okay, I'm going to go up to edit. You can't see it yet, but there's a second one there. Edit and transform and rotate. Okay, notice it selected one of them. We're going to go up to this little angle thing up here and make it 30. Okay, cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the letters and I'm going to drag it up. When I get it where I think it kind of looks good, I'm going to hit the check mark. Cool. I like it, but we don't want 2 of the same. So we're going to change games to, oh, I don't know. We're going to change it to what's new with, I don't even remember what it's supposed to be. Let's see. I got my notes here. I can't remember what it's supposed to be. We're going to call it what's new with phones. Oops. That doesn't quite work. Oh, man, I can't remember. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the one that I saved. It's supposed to be so stupid. MP3s. What's new with MP3s? Okay. Back to Photopea, and we're going to change that to MP3s, and we're going to bold that. Sorry, I didn't write that in my notes. Okay, that should be bolded already. I think I messed up somehow. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like it. Now we're going to click back on the one that's games and right click and duplicate again. Go up to edit, transform and rotate. And we're going to put in -30. We want it to go the other way. And then let's drag it down to the bottom. And we're going to put this one as phones. Okay, it's a little off. Wonder why that did that. Let's see if we can edit our text. I undid that. I think it's just a little too big. Let's say it's phone. I think I started it too far onto the thing. Now the other option we could have is to let's see if I can still bold this. Oh, it still works. Yeah, I'm bummed it won't let me put the S in there because it messes it up. We'll just leave it phone. What's new with phone? How about in phones? This is not what I intended to do, but we'll go up and that looks a little better. What's new in phones? It's not quite what I wanted, but it works. Okay, I'm gonna move that over there. Okay, let's go back to the MP3s. I'm on the move tool. I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. Oh, it didn't let me do it. Control Z. Okay, click on that layer. I have to go to edit and free transform to be able to move it again. If I try and move it without doing free transform, it's going to move the circuit board layer. So be careful of that. You'll have to go and readjust that if you mess it up. Okay, that looks okay. All right, so those things look like they're coming out of his mouth. I click back on the background and I zoom out. Okay, that's kind of cool. Okay, let me zoom back in so I can see what I'm dealing with, because I'm going to do some more adjustments to each of these layers. So let's click back on games. And I'm going to use the text tool. And if I go up to the top, see where it says warp? I'm going to click on warp. Okay, now, right now it has no style, so I'm going to change the style to wave. I'm going to change the bend to 33. Horizontal distortion to minus 23. And the vertical distortion to 5. And then click OK. Okay, see how that kind of warped that a little bit? That's kind of cool. Let's do the same thing with each one. I'm going to click on the one for phones. Make sure I'm on the text tool. Let's warp it. Change it to wave. 33 minus 23, 5, and hit OK. And on the last one, warp, wave, 33 minus 23, 5, and hit OK. So now they're all kind of cool and warped. Gives it a little more style. Okay, that's fun. Okay, now I'm going to go and I'm going to make a new guide. Okay, we haven't done this in a while. Let's go save. File, save. Before we get into the guides again. Now I can close this because I don't need character. I'm going to grab a new guide and I'm going to take it out to 8.25. It's a little tricky getting it there. There it is. All right, so you want to get it to where it's at 8.25. I'm on my move tool so I can check it. 8.25, that's where we want it. All right. And I want to drag one from the top down to 2 inches. Oops, I was off a little bit. Just try and get it as close to perfect as you can. 2.005 is close enough. No one's going to measure this, so that's okay. So we've added a guide. Again, for the guide, you click inside the ruler and drag it down. Don't let go until you get it where you want it. All right, so we got our guides in. We're going to add some more text in. So I'm going to go to my text tool, and I'm going to go up to this corner and click and drag and try and bring this thing down to about 8. Okay, I'm sort of just eyeballing it. Make sure it goes all the way to that edge. Cool. That looks good. Okay, here's where the text document comes in handy. So I'm going to go in, highlight all of these, and I'm going to edit, copy. I hope this works because I haven't done it this way. Click back in the text box and hit Control V. Hey, it worked. Now here's the problem. It's in the back. So we need to drag text layer 7 up to the top, on top of the circuit board. And let us put it on top of model? Yes, all the way up to the top. Okay, so if you have to, put it on top of the circuit board and then drag the model under it. But you should be able to put it all the way up at the top. Okay, so these are our little headlines. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight the trend issue. Okay, we're going to make sure that the text, actually let's do this with all of it. Let's highlight all of this text. And we're going to make it Metropolis. It keeps wanting to make it Deja Vu Sands. We don't want that. We want Metropolis. So let's drag this down to the M's. Hate that. That's it. Okay. So one more time. Let's highlight the top 3 lines. We're going to change the size to 180. Okay. Let's make our style regular. And then we're going to go in the character. And we're going to change the tracking to 0. And we're going to adjust the leading. We're going to make the leading at 140. Now watch what that does. It squishes it all together. So basically the space in between the lines. Okay. And then one thing we're going to do is we're going to go into paragraph. And you can do it here or you can do up at the top. And you're going to change it to right align. It might be easier to do it up at the top. Okay, so this is back to character. I like how this looks, but I'm going to just highlight trend, and I'm going to change that to bold. Let's see what that looks like. That looks super cool. I like it. Back to my text tool just to make sure I'm on the right font. Oh, it looks good. Excellent. Now let's grab the rest of this text and let's make it right justified as well. All right, very cool. We're going to check the size on all of this stuff. I think that looks good at 40. We might change it later. I'm not sure if I like that Well, I'll tell you what. Let's highlight where it says what's hot. And we're going to turn off the all caps. And we're going to change the size to 80. And I want to bold that. Okay. See what that looks like. I like that. That looks good. Let's do the same thing with what's not. We're going to highlight what's not. Turn off the all caps. Change the size to 80. And we're going to change this to bold. Bold. And one last one coming this year. Turn off the all caps. Change it to 80. And bold that sucker. Okay, looks pretty good. We do have a problem though. Coming this year is hard to read. So we're going to highlight that. And we're going to change the color of that to black. Okay, I like that. It pops. Everything's where it should be. Okay, we have almost everything done. We need to do one more thing. So let's get our text tool. Our size is at 20. That's not bad. But let's left justify. Oops. Don't do that yet. Let's right justify. Hold on. Make a text box down here on the bottom. Then left justify. And we are going to type V, enter, O, enter, L, enter, 9. So volume 9. Now in what do you call it? In Photoshop, you should be able to use vertical text. We don't have vertical text in here, so we're faking it till we make it. So we're going to line it up on the left. Let's make this all capitals, so we'll change that in here. I don't like this size. It looks a little small to me. So let's see. About 40 maybe? Is that too big? No, it's perfect. 40 is exactly what we want. In fact, let's center justify that. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to be the same either way. All right. Our text is the wrong font, so let's go back and fix that. I don't know why it keeps putting us on Deja Vu. We don't want that. We want Metropolis. So double check that. I think regular is good. Yeah, let's leave it bolded there. And that looks pretty good. Click enter, go back to the move tool. And we're going to drag volume 9 up to the top so that it's lined up with the end of the L. So that's good. All right. I like that. That looks pretty good. We're going to do one more thing. Go up to view and go to show and turn off the guides. Let's see how that looks. That all looks pretty good. I mean, we could probably bring that volume 9 in just a little bit. Looks a little weird, but I think it's probably okay. Wonder if I can... No, I'm going to leave it alone. Let's just leave it alone. Might need to move the volume up a little bit so it's lined up at the top. That looks pretty good there. Okay, we have a magazine cover. Very cool. Let's go up to File, save it, and we're going to File, Export as a JPEG, and save. And there is our finished project, and you are going to turn in that JPEG. And you've learned how to do some really cool text effects. Boom, that's it for lesson 7. Turn it in.